threw up probably 5 times at the hospital while I was in labor. So I'm thinking like, oh, I threw up, it's time. Like, just kidding, no, it's not. Your body is just likes to vomit. A quick disclaimer, this is my birth story. It's gonna have some things that might be a little TMI. I don't like using frilly, like, pictures. I'm not gonna go super graphic. Any photos I share are not gonna, have nudity or anything like that in them or be like too much. But just, if this isn't your cup of tea, click out. You don't have to watch it. But if it is, I hope that you enjoy it, and I hope that you like hearing our birth story. That's it. I had Lola at full term. They actually wanted to induce me around 37 weeks, I think. Is that the norm? I had factor 5, and they thought that they should. She was healthy, I was healthy. There was no real reason. They just thought it would be a good idea to prevent potential risk. Sorry. So some of those risks that they were talking about would be like hemorrhaging or the placenta, I think, rupturing, which could cause hemorrhaging, things like that. And also I think they just said like the placenta gets older and would essentially wear out the longer I'm pregnant. And given the fact that I was taking blood thinners and all that, they thought it could like speed up that process for me. But this could very well be our only pregnancy. And I said, I really would like to experience spontaneous labor. Like, can I do that, please? Obviously I respect doctors and my midwives and all of your opinions. Like, I'm not here to shun it, but like, if I'm healthy and baby's okay, like, do I have to? What are the pros and cons and things like that? So like, it didn't start off like there was no bad, like feelings towards that. Like, they wanted that, and I was like, I really don't want to if I don't need to. Like, if this is just a, hey, we think so, like, can we not? So at that point, right around, I think it first was mentioned around 36 weeks, my husband and I decided to hire a doula. We were basically following 2 paths. We were saying, okay, if I'm gonna be induced, let's push back that, induction date a little bit later. So I think at first it was like at 39 weeks, then 40. And I think right around that 39 or 40 week mark, it was like just a few extra days. I just wanted a few extra. And I did allow a membrane sweep, which actually I think I did 3 of those, like 37, 38, and 39 weeks. It's like a natural form of induction. Doesn't feel great, and it can, stimulate contractions, which in my case, the first 2, it did nothing. I was already dilated a centimeter. And then the 3rd one on my due date was the one that actually like kind of, or at least I think it did something, but like that whole weekend leading up to my due date, I was doing everything. I was walking, I was having sex. I was, I think the night of or the day of my due date, I started my breast pump. So if anyone ever tells you like, oh, try, pumping, that'll help. 1, talk to your doctor, talk to a midwife, like something like that. You won't actually get milk out. It's just that sucking motion can help stimulate, your body's response essentially. So like I had a whole, ton of things. I was like doing squats, walking upstairs, whatever people told me to do, I was trying. Monday night, my contractions started, and I remember being so excited. All the fear that I had leading up to that day was kind of gone. I was just like, all right, it's time. Like, we're gonna have a baby, like this is what we've been preparing for. So I remember like sitting down, trying to eat dinner, messaging my doula, timing everything. She advised me like, get some rest, you're gonna need it. Like you're talking and breathing fine, you're good. If you, can't sleep through the night, like that might be a sign to like go to the hospital, like depending on, the timing. So that's pretty much what happened. I woke up around like 1:30-ish. And just felt, a little stronger, a little more intense. So we go into the hospital. I was only a 1.5. So I remember feeling a little like flustered at that point because my contractions were pretty intense, and they were, I don't remember the exact time, but they were following in line with like the time that you should go to the hospital. So everything like matched up. So I felt a little silly getting there early because it was like, I didn't want to, you know, be that like over eager couple. So they were like, walk around the hospital for a couple hours. We'll see where you're at. And then like, you know, we'll check you again and then go from there. So we're walking. I remember some of my contractions were so intense that I would have to like stop and like lean against a wall, and like they would last like over a minute long, or they would be like back to back. Like I'm like, all right, we're doing it. So 2 hours go by, they check me, still at a 1.5. So at this point, they tell me, okay, here are your options. We can induce you right now. You can go home and rest, or you can try to sleep and we'll induce you in the morning. So I'm talking with my husband, my doula. She said, don't get induced now. You've been up for, you know, hours already. It's like 4 in the morning. Like you're tired. If you do it now, like it's just gonna be rough. And me just being, you know, kept in a hospital, like waiting, didn't sound fun. So I was like, let's go home. So we go home, try to get some sleep. You know, I'm up probably by like noon, walking around, contractions are still happening. So now this is Tuesday. And then so Tuesday night around like 7 p.m., my doula comes over. She takes, I think it's a rebozo, and like we do some exercises to try to make sure baby's in line. I will say, between like probably the July 28th and like the 30th, I had seen a chiropractor. You know, did his little thing, checked me out, said everything looks great, baby feels like they're in the right position, you should be good whenever you have baby. Monday, or the 30th, I had an ultrasound and they monitored me. Baby was, you know, head down, right position, you are good to go once you're in labor. So my doula was just doing exercises to help baby get down a little lower to drop, just to like open my hips up and get me, you know, ready for labor basically. And then I remember she was doing one where it was like following in line with the contractions. And I think that was like the one that really had like worked, because she would like lift my stomach up a little and then kind of like let it fall down. And I think just the weight of moving baby was like making baby kind of go down a little. And at that point, I like went to the bathroom. I was like, wait a minute, I think my water's leaking. Not ruptured, but leaking. Almost like a little like trickle. So everyone's excited. It's like 10 p.m. We're like, you know what? Tuesday, 10 p.m., let's go in the hospital. Let's check it out. So they actually can like swab to check your like fluid to make sure, like, did she pee? Is it like your amniotic fluid? They confirmed my water was leaking. So at that point they decided to keep me, because if your water breaks, like that's usually when they do want you in the hospital. I was lucky I got the natural birth suite, and we had originally wanted an unmedicated birth. I had a whole little like birth plan laid out, and my birth plan was never like, you know, it has to be this way. It was like, this is what we would like. If that doesn't work, here's what we would like, and kind of just an ABC option, and more as like a guide for my husband and I, because when you're in labor, everything's just like, sure, yeah, whatever. Like it's so easy to like agree to whatever at that point, because you just like are over it. And that still happened with me. But it still just gave me those options and acted as a great like outline of like, wait a minute, did we want that? So Tuesday, 10 p.m., they kept me. And so the coolest part about our natural birth suite is you get a queen size bed. So that is perfect for walking around. I was laboring, you know, I'd go through contractions. I would feel some of the pressure like on my lower back. So my doula and my husband would take turns like massaging like the two parts like on both sides of my spine. And I'd just kind of like walk around. When I would try to sleep, one of them would lay next to me and kind of massage my back throughout the night. And like they would take turns taking care of me and resting. So that goes into Wednesday morning. Wednesday morning, one of the midwives comes to see me. It's probably like 10 a.m. I think at this point, I might be like a 3 or a 4, dilated. And she says, well, you know what could speed that up is if we break your water. Side note, I had already laid out and discussed with my doula, we didn't need to break her water. Like you can deliver a baby with water fully intact. And really like there's no, it's just a thing that they try to do to speed it up. So I didn't want it done. When she asked me at that point, I said, sure, why not? Like this is taking a little longer than we planned. Anything can help at this point if it's just like a little thing. Oh my goodness, does it feel so weird? Like if you've ever had it happen, or like, it's not like the movies. One, they did it, so I was laying in bed, but just everywhere and just so uncomfortable and weird feeling. And especially because I was still getting up and going, like walking back and forth to the bathroom. So I recommend bringing like adult diapers instead of like the mesh underwear and pads, and you can wear them even before, like when you're just walking around the hospital room before baby. That saved me and kept me so much more comfortable. I was so happy I brought like a full pack because I needed them. Probably do a disclaimer at the beginning of this of like a TMI warning. Anyways, so that happened Wednesday morning, and I was like, okay, like this is gonna be the thing that speeds it up. Where's baby? Let's do this. Well, breaking my water also caused something called coupling, which is back-to-back contractions. So when they break your water, your contractions definitely get more intense, and mine, they did. But also mine sometimes would have this like coupling where they would be back-to-back without your rest period in between. And so for anyone who doesn't know, like your body, you will have a contraction, and the reason you have those rests or those spaces in between, it actually allows your body to like kind of just recoup and get ready for the next one. This is the whole process. Like labor is called that because your body is doing work. It is getting ready to like produce this human, you know? So the coupling sucked. It didn't give me that opportunity to like, reset myself or prepare. I felt like awful for my husband and my doula because like they're exhausted, like walking around. I took 3 baths, I think, because like a bath is considered like a natural epidural, like it helps relieve pain. I believe my doula and my midwife said like sometimes doing it like too early can kind of like prolong labor. So they like were trying to time it out appropriately so they didn't stall, like, cause anything to stall. And like, I definitely enjoyed taking the baths. It did feel good. It did like relieve some pressure. But 2 different things. One, whoever designed the bathrooms at our hospital's birthing suite is a bonehead, because it looks like a nice sized jetted tub, except the part where the biggest part of my body, where our belly is, has 2 like indentations for handles. So like I could not fully lay on my side. I just felt really smushed. And because I was already having back labor, my doula had recommended me trying to stay on my side as much as possible or standing upright, so I didn't stall labor. So that was really hard for me in the bathtub. The second thing is when I had mentioned bodies resting, I would actually have a contraction. I'd be doing my breathing exercises, and I would literally fall right asleep into the exercise or into like my breathing. And then just like wake up randomly, and I would like look out the tub, and I would see like my husband and my doula, and they would both be like smiling at me, and I didn't understand why. And now I know, like they told me it's because they'd be like, she's sleeping? Like she's snoring right now? And then I would just like randomly wake up. So I would be sleeping, like legit, like kind of nodding off for like a minute or 2 at a time. So that goes on all Wednesday night. They would check me, I think around like 7 or 8, maybe even a little bit later. They said, like you're still only at like a 6 at this point, maybe 7. I think 1, they had to break my water a second time. So that happened in the afternoon, and I'm like, sure, like you already did it once. What else can happen? They got even more intense. At that point, I was making jokes about like, you know what, never mind, I'm good. We can go home. We'll try this again another day. I changed my mind. I was never like angry about it. I was just like, never mind, like just talking. And yeah, breaking the water the second time, like they missed some or something. I don't know. And then later in the evening, I was still not like, going or dilating quickly. So they're like, you really need to get some rest before you push. So like, we can give you something to help you sleep. It's not a pain medicine, it'll just help you sleep. So talked, you know, waited out with my husband, we thought about it. I said, yes, like I'm tired, I want to sleep. Everyone in here needs to sleep. So we do that, and I remember falling asleep and dreaming about someone else's pain, and then experiencing it and feeling the pain, and then realizing, oh yeah, that's me, I'm feeling it. And then asking my husband to, I think my dog's barking, asking my husband to like massage me, and he would massage me, and then he was so tired, he would fall asleep still pressing into my back, and I have to like swat him because it was causing me pain. So it did help me sleep a little, but I felt so loopy and weird that it was a journey. And for those coming at me about like taking drugs or like medicine or anything like that while I have a baby, like, you do whatever you have to do. This is my story, let me do me. So at that point, I think it lasted like an hour or two, 10 or 11 rolls around, they come and check me. I'm still at a 7, and at that point, I knew that they were gonna have to introduce Pitocin because my water had been broken around that 24-hour mark now. So I made the decision that if I was gonna have to have the Pitocin, I wanted the epidural, because I know that Pitocin can make your contractions even stronger. And I did not think I was going to handle anything beyond what I was already feeling. So I had to do a little like mommy walk of shame down to a traditional hospital room, because if they introduce Pitocin or an epidural, it has to be in a regular medical suite, not the like natural birthing suite. So like walking around, waiting for the doctor. I remember just sitting there like being terrified because you have to sit still, and my contractions were so close together. I was like, how am I gonna hold this together for them to insert this needle? I did magically, and they gave me like an extra dose, or I don't know what it's called, but it like allows you to feel like really good for that first hour, so you can rest while like the medicine is like kind of kicking in, which I did. But I also felt really itchy, like everything was itchy. But I slept. I could still feel contractions. They do warn you, and if you haven't had an epidural, they do say it will not take away all the pain, it's just supposed to help. So I slept for about an hour. And the one thing I remember is the amazing nurse coming in, but driving me crazy because she kept adjusting the monitor. And I didn't have to have all of the monitors and stuff until I decided to take the medicine. So like having all of this, being hooked up and stuck in a bed was driving me crazy. And the one chance I got to sleep and she's like fidgeting with me, I'm like, just close the door, get out of here. Suddenly, I feel a horrendous amount of pain, like probably the worst thing I've ever felt. And I call the nurse, and when I let me just disclaimer, when I say that, I was still like sitting there and I was breathing. I was, like, it's not like unbearable amount of pain, but I was just like, I thought this was supposed to help. Why am I feeling this so much now? Especially like laying on my back was like making it so much worse. And like my husband and my doula are over on the beds resting, and I'm just sitting here in this like, kind of dark room. So I call the nurse and I'm like, I think I need this to be stronger. Like, first of all, joke's on me. This is like, I really don't want an epidural. And it was always like, we'll see how it is when I get there. But like now I'm like, I need you to increase this. And so they say, well, let us check you. And then if you're, still like at your 7.5, like then we'll increase it. Like, okay, because like this hurts a lot. So they check me, and obviously that takes like a couple minutes for the nurse to come in. I'm like, hi, where are they? Like, I need help now. And they check me and it's time to push. Like, within 1 hour, I did all the things I needed to do that I had waited for 2 days. So it's Wednesday morning. I want to say at this point, it's probably like 2 a.m. I think, like to time it out from when baby was born, we'll say about 2. And I'm like, okay. So now they're preparing me to push, and like my doula's like the cutest, giggliest thing I think I've ever seen, because like that is her time to shine. She's like, it's baby time, you know, midwife. And I will say I think we had a team of 4 midwives at the time, or maybe there's 5, but 1 was out. But I pretty much saw everyone on rotation because I was there so long, and they were like, you know, rotating. They're like, you're still here? Where's your baby at? So everyone's excited because they knew that like, you know, everyone else was having babies way before me. And she's like, all right, it's time. So the issue is when you have your epidural, like, you can't get up and labor the way maybe you had planned. Like, you have to stay in bed. So originally the nurse was like, here, like, they get out this bar that where you can like put your legs up to push. I'm like, okay. And she originally was like, well, you need to, and I'm like, I'm not laying flat on my back. So it's kind of like shifted a little, and they're like, that's fine. As long as you're, you know, in bed, you're good. And the best thing my doula said, because I had gotten another contraction, and if I didn't stay on top of them, my whole body would like start shaking, and it was like hard to breathe. So she was like, that's your baby. Like, you need to push through the pain. Like, get your baby out, and you're not going to feel that way anymore. And I was like, done. Challenge accepted. So I was definitely worried that like I wouldn't know how to push, especially because I had the epidural, because I've heard like doctors be like, well, push with your legs or push this way. And it's like, I can't feel my legs. What are you talking about? So doula explaining to push through the pain, like somehow my body, like I knew that. I was like, I got you. So we had worked it out, and they didn't coach me. I would just push whenever I would feel a contraction, and that also would give me a time to like breathe through it. And I think pushing through the contraction was easiest because then I could also kind of like, one, catch my breath, but also like the bear down was easier because you're like almost like fighting the pain that way. And I don't know how many actual pushes it took, but I'd say I pushed for about an hour. I remember them saying like, you know, like crowning, and there was a mirror, so I could kind of see, but like, I feel like that was a little bit more of a blur because obviously like I'm focused on trying to have this baby, right? And my husband was, you know, right there. He was amazing. They kept giving me a rag to like cool my head, but it was so frustrating because I had the wrong glasses on. And so these stupid glasses that I picked out would slide down. So every time I would lean forward, my wrap would fall down, my glasses would fall down. So basically everything was just sliding off of my face, and it was like obnoxious. But that was just like a minor where I would just be like, okay, get this off me. I need to like, it's time. And then something really like amazing happened was my midwife, Jen, she actually told me to like, she was like, get your baby. So as I actually caught my child. This was not in my birth plan. This was not something I discussed. I actually probably said I didn't want to do that originally, not knowing, but I was so thankful she gave me that opportunity then, because it was just magical. And then my husband got to tell us, or to announce like what it was. So he was the one who told me that we were having a daughter. And then I blurted out the name within like a minute, because they're like, oh, like what is a girl? Like, what's her name? And I was like, Lola Jane. And I was like, wait, I need to confirm that with Joel. Like, oh my God. And then we spent 24 hours questioning if that was the right name for her, because like, you know, it's just a big deal. But it was a magical, like amazing experience. And then like, she was just laid here on my chest, and I did a partial lotus birth. So what that is they don't cut the cord until you deliver the placenta. So I think that took maybe like 20 to 30 minutes after. Weirdest feeling ever. And yeah, I was able to breastfeed her within that first hour, and she just laid here, and I couldn't believe it, and I cried, and I'm trying not to cry now. And I remember Joel like being the sweetest, but also like, sorry, I am crying a little. The sweetest, but like so eager to hold her. You know, he was like, okay, I know skin to skin time is important, but like, when do I get to hold our baby? And he was amazing and so delicate. And I don't remember the time. I think we bathed her like the next day. I know some people wait even longer, but like, that's when we did it. But he actually asked to do it with the nurse. And so like, essentially he bathed her, and she coached him through it, which was like really sweet. And I'll insert a couple photos that we have from the hospital. I have like a video of him like singing to her where she's only like a few hours old, and it was just amazing and special. And I don't think I would change a thing about it. I think that me having the epidural, the Pitocin, kind of gave me that little kick that I needed to get to the next level. If we choose to have another kid, I think I would try for not like unmedicated again, just to see what it feels like. Hopefully my body responds to it a little bit quicker this time and knows and remembers what having a baby is like, and it's like, we got this. We don't need to take days to have. But yeah, that's our birth story. It's special, and even though it's not what I planned or envisioned, which I always said, like, it's not gonna be what you envision, it never is. I always got to be the one to make decisions. So I had my birth feeling empowered, and that was the biggest thing I wanted, was just to be able to feel in control of my body and to be respected. And I think having a well-informed husband who took all the classes with me and read about things and wanted to learn just as much as I did, and having a doula to help balance both of us, who's like also kind of a little freaked out, was the perfect combination for us. And it got us our amazing little girl, and you know, I've been grateful every day since. Thank you guys for taking the time to watch this video. I hope you enjoyed hearing our experience and sharing our journey with you, and I'll see you soon.